All right, guys, this is going to be a crazy video, an interesting video, kind of a hard-hitting video. Miami, Florida. I say that I'm Spencer G. Slaughterhouse Sports. I say that the video is going to be interesting because Miami, the University of Miami, just a couple of months ago, on, I want to say, September 2nd, they went into the swamp in Gainesville, the University of Miami, and they absolutely killed Florida and left them for dead. And Cam Ward was brilliant. The wide receiver, Restrepo. You have Damian Martinez. So I know all about the offensive guys that are on this football team. However, you look towards the rest of the season, and against Virginia Tech, I mean, that was maybe the first sign that Miami was maybe not that good. They easily could have lost that game against Virginia Tech. Okay, they survived a late play, and Cam Ward was brilliant late. Against Cal, they were down 28-10. Actually, maybe even 35-10. And if not for the brilliance of Cam Ward, they would have lost that game as well. Then you look at the Louisville game. You even look at the Duke game. This defense this year, guys, was absolutely pitiful all season long, and it shouldn't be that way. I mean, Miami, the past couple of cycles, they have recruited really well on that side of the ball. If we look back at the Miami recruiting rankings, I'm sure that they were top 10 classes. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's a lot better than any other ACC opponent. Okay, and Lance Guidry is a good guy, but Lance Guidry right now is going to be shown the door. I mean, all signs point to that. Miami is not going to make the playoff, and they are losing recruits left and right. They are losing recruits left and right. Right now, their linebacker prospect, who's a 4-star linebacker, Nix, he's going to go to Oregon, and then their safety target up there in Jacksonville, they had another safety commit. He's going to also go to Florida. So what a difference. Two trains going in opposite directions. Billy Napier in Florida closes out the year in a big time way, beating Florida State and now beating Miami. So before the season, or now Florida is really the talk of the town. Before the season, you looked at UCF and Gus Malzahn in the state of Florida, and UCF was supposed to really be a solid program. KJ Jefferson, really good recruiting class, a lot of talent in Florida. Gus Malzahn, kind of the second run, trying to kind of be like a little bit of Mac Brown, but be better than Mac Brown and grow and be a total veteran. I mean, Gus Malzahn is still 4 or 5 years younger than Kurt Signetti. So it's possible for Gus Malzahn to bounce back. I mean, you see it with Andy Reid, Sean Payton. Like, it's possible for a 60-year-old coach to be pretty good. But terrible quarterback evaluation with Jefferson, honestly. Ja'Cory Brown. The offense was an absolute mess. You had to fire coordinators. Was he calling plays or not calling plays? The team would get blown out in certain scenarios, would be really bad finishing games. And suddenly UCF is a mess, and they need a new coach. You look at Florida International, which is way in the American Conference, okay, but it's far out there in terms of off the radar. They fired their coach. FAU, literally without a coach right now. So Tom Herman experiment failed massively from Lane Kiffin. You look at the University of Miami. Miami is a mess. And then so is Florida State. So it's pretty amazing right now that really Florida football has fallen and become terrible again. And Mario Cristobal, he was handed all this money in funding, in NIL and boosting, and the boosters have given him everything. And he was able to get this guy, Francis Mar-a-Lago, who's one of the best, offensive tackles in the game of football. He was able to get that player. And then he was really able to, the defensive line was supposed to be incredible. I know that they lost a couple of players in the secondary, but really with Cam Ward, this defense with the the amount of money that the roster allows, should have still been able to field a team. You should still be able to play on the lines of scrimmages. And they weren't able to run the football. They weren't able to run the ball consistently, throughout the year. And Cam Ward was running for his life, and this offense even looked discombobulated at times. So they really, when you look at Fran Brown and Syracuse, this was the first year that Fran Brown was at Syracuse, and he was inheriting like a terrible team left over by Dino Babers. He got Kyle McCord, he got some of these other players, and there's no development going on with the University of Miami. They're losing the teams like Georgia Tech. They're losing the teams like Syracuse on the road because they're just not developing talent. And it's not working. I mean, honestly, Mario Cristobal, like this hot seats, I mean, I know they went 10-2. Who cares? It's an easy slate. SMU went 11-1. The conference is not very good. And you're lucky you had Cam Ward, or it would have been a 5-7 season. It really would have been. You now have to fire your defensive coordinator again. This whole thing at Miami is just, it's not working. And somebody's going to come in here and take this job. I don't know if it's going to be Lane Kiffin, ironically, but somebody just next year, this job is probably going to come open. So this year's a very quiet year, on the coaching circuit, on the coaching market. It just like Florida State, I don't expect Miami to land a great defensive coordinator. They're probably going to land a veteran DC, and I don't know if they're going to put it together. And if I were a booster, I'd give real hesitancy towards this program. I mean, Mario Cristobal's going to say, we're a couple plays away. Cam Ward saved your ass. This team was flat out bad all year long. They were paper tigers all year long. They should have lost to Cal. And every game, it would amaze me to see them against Louisville or to see them against these teams like couldn't stop anybody. And the fact that Fran Brown can go in there and beat you year one at Syracuse is unbelievable. I mean, in this age of NIL and with the advantages that Miami had on that roster financially and with the boosters and with NIL and everything, the fact that you go up to the Carrier Dome, you're up 21-0 against Syracuse, and you lose that game is unbelievable. Georgia Tech outplayed you badly. Virginia Tech outplayed you. Cal really outplayed you. So, I mean, the team it came out of the gates great, and against Florida, and then Florida kept getting better and better, and Miami and all of these other programs are they're just missing. I don't know if it's the state of Florida, what's going on with recruiting. No one is really program building. Florida State took a huge step back. Right now, you're Billy Napier in Florida, and you've watched all these programs around you just totally shrink, and it's amazing to see. You would think that Gus Malzahn and UCF would be a solid Big 12 team. You would think FAU can continue with Tom Herman to be solid and actually fight you for 3-star recruits. You think that Miami this year, I mean, first couple games of Cam Ward, I'm like, dang, that's going to be an ACC champion. That's going to be a team that's going to, compete in the playoffs. They're probably going to make the playoffs, and they're going to compete in it. And I wasn't surprised at all to see Syracuse come back against Mario Cristobal. So, Mario's had his advantages and had his time. I mean, it's a little bit like Jimbo Fisher without the national championships. And the guy is a good guy. By all accounts, he's a cool guy. Their whole staff is good people that, you can root for guys like Mario. But it's flat out, it's one of the most underachieving programs in the country. It probably this year is the most underachieving program. Right up there with Ohio State is Miami. For the talent that they've had on both sides of the ball in that conference with that quarterback, for them to go 10-2, and it really should have been 8-4, there's just no consistency at Miami right now. And the stadium, there's just so much up in the air. it's a weird situation in Miami right now. As a fan of, you can't feel great about where this program is going. You just can't. They're going to, again, try to get new coordinators to come into the fold once again. And I know that you get Cam Ward at quarterback, but maybe you sacrifice your defense, and the defensive overhaul is going to have to take place, and then Cam Ward's not going to be there next year. So next year, the expectation is going to be lower, and it's going to be like USC. But is Mario Cristobal going to have the benefit of the doubt when they go 8-4 next year and they take on massive changes? Because I don't think that they're going to flip a switch next year. But Mario Cristobal should be built on defense. He should be built on running the ball. I know that you had Cam Ward, so you wanted to air it out and maybe put it in your best player's hand. But what is Mario Cristobal known for? He's known for line of scrimmage play. He's an offensive line coach. So he thought Miami would physically take it to teams. They're so far behind in terms of nutrition, in terms of recovery, in terms of preparing. They're just outmatched. They're out-schemed. They're outmatched every single game. They're not getting the best out of their athletes. They're slowing down as the season goes on. They're peaking in September and getting worse and worse. And you could see that. And at the University of Florida, I give them credit because they started out real ugly, right? And they just kept at it. And their strength and conditioning program proved to be super sufficient over time. And now they're dominating in high school recruiting. And now this is getting bad. I mean, everybody's going to leave. The Miami commits are all leaving Miami right now. So for Mario, it's going to be really, really tough to retain the job or to look at this program. And I'm sure that he has, a decent sized buyout. And he's a CEO type anyway, and he's a good CEO type. He's a very good recruiter. He was able to get Cam Ward. He still won 10 games, but the point is that you could be distracted by 10-2. You can be distracted by Cam Ward in this offense and think that this is a good football team. But the ACC, I watch college football all day long. The ACC isn't very good, and for Miami to go 10-2, it's flat out becoming a mess out there. We're going to highlight, again, some players that are leaving Miami, going elsewhere, and these are talented guys. Like Nix, who's going to Oregon, is a talented inside linebacker who brings that physicality, who plays with reckless abandon, okay? He's very good. And then the safety from Jacksonville is a phenomenal player as well. That's a real ball-hawking player. Florida, it's just amazing what has happened to the state of Florida. And what's happened to these programs over the past 3 months has been incredible. You can't predict the downfall of Miami, losing to Syracuse, Florida beating LSU and Ole Miss, and dominating Florida State to win. The Sunshine State is absolutely wild right now.